Thank you so much, Mr. John Chambers, Chairman Emeritus of Cisco and the founder and CEO of JC2 Ventures, and my very good friend, Mr. George Oliver, Chairman and CEO of Johnson Controls, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, who I think I can call a brother, President and CEO of USISPF, Mr. Virat Bhatia, somebody who's done some wonderful work in India, bringing Apple to India in a big way, and very proud of the good work he has done. Mr. Prabjit Singh, it was wonderful to hear about some of the good stuff that Uber has been doing in India. Congratulations to you. All the other distinguished members of the board of directors, public policy executives, and government officials. It's always a privilege to interact with all of you. I always come out of a session with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum wiser and more educated about what's happening in the world, more particularly in the United States of America. So I do believe that we are at that moment where if we do not seize the opportunity, future generations will hold us responsible for not getting these two democracies together, working and partnering with each other to scale and ensuring the well-being not only of our people, of the people of the US and India, but furthering the global well-being of the people across the world. And towards that, I think the US and India are absolutely natural allies. No two economies, no two sets of people can have the kind of synergy, kind of brotherhood, the understanding of each other, and also the respect for rule of law, democratic traditions, concerns for the lesser privileged, interest to engage with technology, innovation, promote entrepreneurship, like the US and India do. Our leaders over the years have built very strong bonds of friendship. Our businesses work seamlessly with each other. Our people enjoy each other's company, each other's country, companionship, and business relationship. And therefore, I believe that a big responsibility is cast on all of you in the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, as is cast on me as a representative of India, to work together, to build this relation to the next level, in the spirit of understanding, in the spirit of oneness. And I assure you that the government in India, led by Prime Minister Modi, is extremely committed to this relationship, is focused on transforming the lives of the people of India, for which we believe we have to reform, we have to perform, and we have to transform India. All the steps that the government has been taking over the last few years are structural in nature, preparing the nation for engaging with the world from a position of strength, as an equal, but also bearing in mind our own limitations, our own socio-political economic situation, and the imperatives of improving the lives of 1.3 billion Indians. India is an aspirational country, young country. Our youngsters are well skilled, well educated, very entrepreneurial in their approach. I think 66, 67 unicorns already in India, most of them, or at least half of them, during the COVID pandemic period, they are engaging with the rest of the world, offering services, learning and taking knowledge from all of you. I'm sure that with the collective efforts of this wonderful team in front of me, Friends of India, and the commitment of the Modi government to the India-US relationship, we have good times ahead of us. Let us work together to further the cause of the India-US partnership, both strategic and economic, and let us smoothen the edges. Let us work together in that spirit of understanding that I know all of you have, that I know Mr. Chambers has always articulated in all our conversations. Mukesh has always been an ambassador of India. Virat, Prabjit, all of you are serving India. Thank you for all your support, all the good work you're doing. And my doors are always open to you, to the entire team, for anything that I can do to further your work, your business, your presence in India, further our relations between the two countries. Thank you, Mr. Oliver, for your leadership of the USISPF. And I would look forward to welcoming you in India soon and meeting with you personally. My best wishes to all the people, all the participants of this forum today, of this dialogue. And I pray and wish for your good health and for the happiness of you and your families. Thank you very much.
Terrific. And Minister Goyal, thank you for your remarks. We share your enthusiasm about our partnership and working together to ultimately achieve your goals. So we're looking forward to a very engaging discussion. I know there's been a lot of questions brought forward. So if we could, we'd like to really just get into the Q&A. If I could start, making India a significant step toward creating a self-reliant India envisioned by Mr. Modi. It is evident in his recent UNA address as well. You have articulated the vision of the global manufacturing hub as companies look to relocate supply chains from other parts of Asia to India. What specific advantages can India offer? And if you would talk about latest development here.
Scott, I'm getting very sporadic voice. So I'm getting broken sentences.
Turn it down a little bit. Can you hear me now?
I could hear Prabjit very well, Mukesh very well, but something is wrong on this connection.
Let me start again. Making India is a step towards creating a self-reliant India, visioned by Prime Minister Modi. It's evident in his recent UN General Assembly address as well. You have articulated the vision of making India the global manufacturing hub. As companies look to relocate supply chains from other parts of Asia to India? What specific advantage can India offer? And if you would talk about any latest development.
Friends, COVID-19 has highlighted that supply chains should not be based only on one factor, maybe cost, but also on trust. As I said earlier, India has a democracy, demography, young population, demographic dividend, as we often call it, a huge demand, 1.3 billion Indians aspiring for a better quality of life, and huge diversity. Our geography also gives us a unique advantage of connectivity to Europe, the Middle East, Africa, or Eastern Asia. We are very centrally located. To build resilience in the economy, the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat program. The Atmanirbhar Bharat program is not at all about closing India's doors to the world or engagement with the world. It's about opening our door bigger and wider. There's lots we have to offer, lots we have to learn, absorb, and bring in from developed countries, like-minded countries, on a fair and reciprocal and equitable basis. Therefore, we believe Atmanirbhar Bharat rests on 5 I's: intent, inclusion, investment, infrastructure, and innovation. And you will see that we both, in a way, share these 5 I's. We need to be more focused on strengthening specific areas of cooperation between the US and India. We in India are trying to address concerns of sectors where we believe we have a competitive or a comparative advantage to make in India for the world. And many initiatives have been taken towards that end. Reducing the corporate tax rate for new investments to 15%, opening up FDI in several new sectors, the national infrastructure pipeline, the monetization of assets plan, nearly $100 billion assets sought to be monetized, removing retrospective taxation, a legacy we inherited, and something all of you have always advised us to get rid of, the simplified tax regime we are trying to implement, the one nation, one tax, the huge technological innovations we are introducing in the country, our fintech and edtech are really 2 pillars on which we are developing very well. All in all, the effort is to make India produce high quality products at competitive prices, meeting global standards, and truly, in areas where we have the strength or the competitiveness, becoming a larger player in global markets. May not happen in all businesses, but we certainly believe there's a lot of potential in several sectors. Single window, I'm grateful for the acknowledgement on that. It's still on a beta version, a test case. Take us a few more months, but I assure you, we'll make sure that sitting in Minnesota, you can locate, identify the land you want to buy it, pay for it, know all your neighbors, know all your logistics, ensure all your approvals are in place before you even set foot on Indian shore. We've improved our rankings in the ease of doing business, but of course, that's got into an unfortunate spin. But overall, competitiveness, global innovation index, in all of that, we are making effort to meet the needs of the world. Thank you.
Aligned with those priorities, and certainly I think all of the companies that have joined us here today certainly look forward to continuing to work with you on those priorities. Another question was, our members are actively considering expanding their India-based operations, but they are concerned with the non-tariff barriers. You've also been a proponent of making in India for the world. So how can we further streamline India's approach to existing global standards? Is there room to help India align with global practices to ultimately minimize the requirements in India?
By the way, Scott, thank you. I could hear this very well. Thank you very much. George, we've been working on quality control standards for quite some time now. And we're trying to align them to international standards in most cases. Our effort is that we should have a participative and consultative approach with industry stakeholders. But at the same time, my personal belief is that unless India engages with quality production, we'll never be able to become a global player. Sadly, and I don't mind acknowledging it, in the past, the culture was that this is a product for the Indian market, and there'll be another product that the same product for export was a different, slightly more high quality product, and we would write on that export quality. I think Paramjit or Mukesh should remember that export quality. I want to change that. There will be one quality, what we'll sell in India, what we'll sell to the world. And that quality consciousness will only come once we introduce standards in the country. But I assure you, I'm making every effort to align them to international standards. As of December 2020, I have figures to show that 83% of Indian standards were for various products were completely harmonized to internationally accepted standards. And we are working towards converting the rest of them also. But if there are any specific cases that any US businesses have, just shoot a letter directly to me or to any of my colleagues. We have an open mind, and fortunately, now the standards body is also under me. The BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards, is also under me. Probably the first time that both these departments are under the same minister. So we have a great opportunity to resolve these issues literally on a real-time basis. Though I must say, we also face a lot of non-tariff barriers when we go out to export to the US, to Europe. So these are non-tariff barriers are there in all countries. But we can't change your standards because we can't meet those standards. And likewise, obviously, we will expect American businesses to meet Indian standards. But I assure you, we will try to align more and more with the rest of the world, and we'll work as partners with an open mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies that are with us here today bring a lot of depth and expertise and can be a real partner in how those standards are set. And we look forward to continuing to work with you on that. Moving to the next, what's the next frontier, for a follow-on trade agreement with the US? And is there a potential, in your opinion, to pursue economic arrangements under the Quad?
Well, the US-India relations have come a long way. And as I said, we are pretty much natural and indispensable partners, and we need to work together. Unfortunately, a lot of effort which had gone in my first 2 years, 1.5 years, and Mukesh, Mr. Chambers are all familiar with the amount of work we did. I think members from your company also, George, were involved in the discussions. We had actually concluded discussions maybe 3 or 4 times, but would always get stuck somewhere in the red tape. And for a change, India was not responsible. We were always forthcoming. I would personally invest a lot of my time in trying to make it happen, including meeting with your medical devices companies on probably 4 or 5 occasions, both in India and in Washington and New York. So I made a very, very sincere effort. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I hope that now with the closeness that the Quad has created between our 4 countries, since I already have an FTA with Japan, I'm fast progressing towards a comprehensive economic partnership with Australia. In fact, their trade and investment minister is here tomorrow morning. And we are having our next round of discussions tomorrow, and we hope to conclude very quickly our early harvest agreement, in which we have identified the few issues, maybe 100, 200 product lines, some services, some investment areas, which are of pressing interest to both countries. And we are entering into an early harvest agreement, because an FTA which has 11,000 lines will take much longer. We'll pursue that and finish it over the next few months. But we are going for the early harvest so that businesses can start enjoying the fruits of this partnership. We are doing that with Australia. So now it's left to the US and India to engage in a much bigger way. I would urge all of you to also impress upon your administration. India is ready and willing to expand our economic partnership in the spirit of reciprocity and equality, which I think is something which we will not find each other wanting. While our trade in goods and services has seen significant growth in the last 10 years, but I do believe the potential hasn't even started. I think India and the US can be two countries which should be looking at a balanced mutual trade of upward of $1 trillion in the next 10 years. And unless we keep some very ambitious targets, we'll never get there. I'm happy to look at $1 trillion target for the next 10 years between the US and India. I'm happy to engage with the US and look for expanding our economic partnership so that then all four members of the Quad would have very strong economic ties with each other.
Minister Goyal, I think we agree with that, and we think that there's a tremendous potential between the two companies, and we're glad to hear that and what we can do to make sure that we're doing what we can do to continue to advance those. Now, moving on, how will India compete for trade in the region when there are large-scale trade agreements in place between many regional countries, such as RCEP and CPTPP? And is there a fear of being left out?
Not at all, Mr. George Olivier, not at all. In fact, the RCEP, we engage with them with all sincerity for almost 7 or 8 years. I became Commerce Minister only in May of 2019. And I was left with only 3 or 4 months before the final round of discussions were to culminate in an announcement of RCEP on 4th of November. But probably Mukesh would bear me out that I'm very much used to getting into very micro details when it comes to these subjects. And when I started digging into the entire discussion, dialogue, and the agreement that was sought to be finalized, I realized that India was being shortchanged. I also realized that we would have been put to a tremendous disadvantage vis-a-vis some country, and we would have also, in effect, killed India's manufacturing sector. More so because when you deal with honest and transparent economic systems, it's much easier to work. But if you are working with an opaque system on the other end, it's very difficult to understand what could go wrong. And therefore, we had to bite the bullet and take the decision of not signing the RCEP agreement. However, we already have an ASEAN-India free trade agreement. The 10 Southeast Asian countries are covered. With Japan and Korea, we have an FTA. Australia, as I said, before the end of the year or by January or February, we would have a framework FTA with the early harvest in place to be implemented over the next, maybe by May or June. So in effect, we've recently signed an FTA with Mauritius. We have our SAFTA neighborhood in which we have trading arrangements. So in some sense, we are well set, we are there, and we do believe that where there are equal and reciprocal, honest trading systems, we will be there, we will be a partner with those countries, expand our relations. As we speak, I have launched negotiations with the UAE on 22nd of this month, 1 week ago. We are already in dialogue with UK at an advanced stage. Hopefully in November, we'll be launching the formal negotiations for a comprehensive and enhanced trade partnership, though we have started the informal preparations already. And my secretary has just come back this morning after the latest round of discussions with the UK. EU and India have decided to start discussions on a CEPA. So India is working with like-minded countries, democracies, transparent and rule-based economies. And therefore, I feel we'll neither be left out, but will actually be at an advantageous position also for American companies to come and work in India.
So we thank you for that, Minister Goyal. You know, we have a couple minutes here, so I'll finish off to celebrate and commemorate 75 years of progressive India and its glorious history. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is organizing special events. Could you throw some light on the Industrial Corridor Program and the launch of the new Industrial Park Rating System?
George, we are celebrating 75 years of independence. We call it Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the sweet nectar of 75 years of independence. And we just celebrated a Commerce Week last week. We had about 700 programs all over India. We are trying to build the momentum right down to the lowest level, right down to the districts, and engage with them to say export is not a central government subject. It's something that every business at the smallest level, small tier 4, tier 5 city also, town, has to be engaged in commerce. And we've had some very good success showcasing India as a rising economic power and our capabilities, and build confidence in our businesses to engage with the world. We'll soon be coming up with a national master plan on infrastructure. It's called Gati Shakti. The idea is that the national map, all our industrial corridors, industrial areas, agriculture producing areas, mining areas, we're trying to bring all of them on one framework and ensure proper logistics and connectivity across the country in a transparent manner, and plan our future infrastructure development around this framework. Thank you.